Hello, my name is Aaron Cavanagh and I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Post-Burnout.com. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. This is our website's podcast where we publish full-length recordings of our interviews, which are sometimes the unedited versions of our site's articles and at other times are exclusives. If you're a returning listener, thank you for coming back, and if this is your first time listening, thank you for checking us out. We hope you enjoy and consider subscribing, giving the episodes a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, or giving it a rating if you're anywhere else. It really helps us out. Thank you. Alright, in this edition of PostBurnout.com interviews, we talk with the Monaghan singer-songwriter Ryan Hunt of Castle Arcade in the first half. Ryan discusses Castle Arcade's latest EP, Tongue-Tied, which was released today, his recent move to Monaghan from Dublin and how this has influenced his music, working with Keelan O'Reilly of Post-Party on the EP, his upcoming gig at Upstairs at Whelan's on December 14th, and much more. In the second half, the members of the Dublin experimental post-punk band Joe Maxi discuss their latest single, Butterfly, their upcoming EP, The Game, their Halloween gig at the Bello Bar, the Irish punk scene, and much more. And just in terms of gigs where you can see these acts live, Joe Maxi will play in the Monaghan at the Bello Bar Portobello on Halloween night with the Dublin band Blue Slate, the Bangor band Stratford Rise, who in the interview they refer to as one of the best bands out right now, and the French band Chess. There will also be other kind of multimedia art on display at the event, so check it out if you're free on Halloween. And as mentioned, Castle Arcade will headline Upstairs at Whelan's on December 14th. Tickets for both of those events are available in the description of this episode. Thank you very much and enjoy.
Hey Aaron, how's it going?
Hey Ryan, it's nice to see you again. How you been?
You too, man. How's things?
I'm well. I'll try and take up too much of your time and I'll just jump straight into it.
Yeah, sounds good.
The last time we would have talked was when In This Room came out in, I guess, summer of 23.
Yeah, last
Um
June, yeah.
I know, I was just gonna ask, like, what have you kind of been up to in that time? Obviously you've been doing you've had like a bunch of releases since then, but just in general, like how's kind of life changed for you, I guess?
Um, just the last year and a half. Not too much. I'm kind of just been head down, just working on loads of music. I've started working with a lot of other artists and stuff, and I've done a lot of session guitar work over the last kind of year. So it's kind of my most of my time's been going in there. And then around this time last year, then I sat down and started producing the EP. Now it's coming out at the end of this month, so that's kind of taking up a whole lot of my time at the minute.
Actually, one thing I'm interested in then, so you were mentioned there that you were kind of like working with like other musicians as a session player. How do you find that kind of influences your solo project? Because in a lot of ways, like you're kind of seeing what they want, but at the same time, you're I guess like you're probably thinking, well, if this was my solo project, this is what I would do differently and things like that. So does the work you do with other artists affect your own music?
I think it definitely exposes me to a lot more music than what I probably would have just found like organically on my own if I was just I think I'm very stuck in my like own taste.
Yeah,
But when you work with somebody else, you're like, oh, I like this band. This is kind of what I'm going for.
totally.
Can you do something like this? So I go listen to a bunch of that, and then I suppose it probably does bleed through then in my own stuff in
Actually,
like subconscious of this.
when I was reading our interview from last year, you were kind of mentioning how when you attended BIM, it kind of expanded your horizons in terms of like the music you were exposed to. Do you find that now
Massively, yeah.
that you're no longer in BIM, that you've kind of reverted back to just listen to what you like, or is it still important for you to kind of have a wide range of things that you're listening to?
I think I did for a while when I first like came back home and I wasn't in Dublin anymore. So I'm living in Monaghan now.
Yeah,
I feel I definitely regressed and I was like in my own little bubble for a while. And I was right. I decided then made like a conscious decision that I was like going to get out of that bubble and I was just trying to expose myself to as much as I could, like through like kind of Spotify playlists or anything I could find, and all the new Irish music playlists on Spotify. I'm great for that. So find loads of Irish bands, and then I try to like travel up to Dublin as much as I can for gigs and stuff, just to keep myself immersed in that kind of culture in Dublin.
yeah. Actually, I remember you were also talking about like the music scenes a little more where you grew up, and you were saying like there wasn't like too many options, and then when you came to Dublin, there was a lot. And do you find like location you're in kind of influences the music you make? Because I don't know, like obviously in terms of like what you're actually exposed to and what you're I don't know if you like view it as competition in terms of like when you're in the Dublin music scene, there's like a lot of stuff that you're kind of going up against, I guess, or just like so much stuff vying for people's attention. And do you find like where you are kind of affects the music or the art you make in any way?
I think so, definitely. Yeah, I think kind of what you're surrounded by and what your friends are into, and what they're doing and the kind of the gigs they're bringing you to.
Yeah.
Definitely, they definitely have a role to play in that. Because I think if I was in Monaghan, I probably would have just
Yeah.
stuck. If I never went to Dublin at all, like I probably would have just stuck listening to like the same sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of my friends down here, they're not super into like alternative kind of music, so it would have just been very like straight straight up the road kind of stuff. And when I went to Dublin, yeah, as I was saying last time we were talking about it, going to BIM and expose myself to all different kinds of stuff. Um, Definitely has a massive influence, and yeah, like just subconsciously, it has to have some sort of effect on you, I suppose.
Yeah, totally. Well, one thing I liked about what you were kind of saying back then was that you were like, I think a lot of people they kind of get into more kind of alternative modes of music and they kind of eschew mainstream popular music, and you didn't do that. You were kind of like, no, I'm taking this more kind of experimental, abstract stuff, and I'm also trying to blend it with what's popular and what's actually getting on the radio.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
well,
think
yeah.
that's like has really influenced your sound. I think that's still very apparent. Has your listening, what you've listened to, has that changed at all in the last year or so? Or do you find like the music you're making now is kind of consistent to the music you've always been making?
I think on this EP for sure, it's still very true to that, where I've kind of tried to combine the alternative kind of styles, guitar music, and heavier, well, not really heavier, but guitar styles with the kind of more pop kind of melodies and stuff.
Yeah.
I think for sure that definitely hasn't changed too much. But in the last kind of year, I guess even since the end of the like, production and writing of this EP and stuff, I've definitely gotten more into electronic styles and stuff. I think the newer stuff that I've been making since this EP, definitely that it comes through more in that there, but you'll have to wait a while to hear that first.
Fair enough. But is that actually kind of how's that kind of like? Because like obviously you can take on different styles in terms of being influenced by stuff, but then do you find it's kind of important to kind of always be I guess testing yourself as a musician, testing your capabilities, and trying to see what your range, what you're actually capable of in terms of a range, and generally when you try to incorporate new ideas, as you mentioned, kind of electronic beats more so, and there've always been, I think, like I think you've talked before about you have worked with like electronic drums at least before, so
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's not a completely alien concept, but generally is it kind of intimidating to try and take on to try new styles, or do you think it's actually more important to do that? What's your relationship with that, I guess?
I think yeah, I think it just happens kind of out of like out of boredom almost. You get so
Right.
used to working in one sort of style, you're like, right, I'm going to push myself there. Like, I want to try something new, and then you kind of push yourself, and then I think your influences are kind of always there. So I think regardless of what you do, unless you're like trying to completely shut them out, you're going to incorporate your old influences and what you like know what to do. Especially if like for me, I was like writing indie music for years and years, still am obviously, and then just as I got more into just different styles, it's always been indie music that's been influenced by the other style,
Yeah.
and it kind of comes through in the music. I feel,
Yeah,
um,
I think we're living in like a really interesting time where like I think genre is kind of sort of dying and everyone's just kind of
for
like
sure, yeah,
mixing a bit
yeah,
of everything. So
definitely, yeah, definitely streaming and Spotify and all have had a massive role to play in that. You hear people talking about that for years. Yeah, I think a lot of stuff it's just a big pastiche of like anything you can find on the internet.
how do you find the kind of music scene where you're living now? Because as you mentioned last time, like we told more that you found that the opportunities for live music was quite limited. Is that the same in Monaghan or in general the kind of music that is around there? What sort of style would it be that you witness anyway?
um, Honestly, the only live original band that I've seen in Monaghan in the last year was Post-Party, who are
Okay,
originally from Monaghan, but they've also moved to Dublin
yeah,
to pursue music. So like Fair Play, it's a lot. There's a lot of music in Monaghan. A lot of it is country. In Monaghan, there's a country festival in the summer and a blues festival.
yeah.
So there is a lot of like that. That's very popular down here, especially country music. It's massive down here. But yeah, I don't think that comes through in my music how much country music I actually hear day to day.
Do you think
But
you'll ever incorporate that? Like do a country record, why not?
I did first do a full record. With me and the boys, we had rehearsal last night, and we were
Yeah.
jamming one of the new tunes. And Aaron, who plays bass, he was like, "Turn around, man, this is like super country sounding." It's like the first like live track that I've got like an acoustic guitar on. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But yeah, they're not about a full record, but I think there'll definitely be maybe hints in some songs here and
Yeah.
there. But sorry, what was the question again? Just what have I
No,
been
I was
listening
just
to lately?
asking kind of about the general music scene in Monaghan. So
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, there isn't for my style of music, and there isn't too much.
yeah.
But there is loads of live music down here, and lots of like pub gigs and stuff and cover bands. Like massive down here, like people want to love music, but not so much of an original scene really.
Fair enough. Um, one thing that's interesting, you were kind of mentioning like practicing with the people you play with, and generally as you relocate, has that been difficult to kind of maintain those sort of working relations with people like who might be in different places, or like how consistent has kind of the Castle Arcade lineup been?
Actually have almost a full new lineup now this time.
Yeah.
Still same bass player. Aaron's been there from the start almost, but he's still going. But no, I've got so we have a gig actually tomorrow night in Whelan's, and we're doing a sports slot, and it's like a more stripped back kind of laid back kind of gig we're doing. And I've got a new guitar player in Andrew Clayton, and I've got my friend Sean McElwain in on keys and synths and stuff. We've done a few acoustic gigs, me and him. We actually traveled over to Liverpool there in March, and we played a little gig over there,
Oh,
a
cool.
little strip back one as well. So um, yeah, so it's a new cast of characters now almost
Well, I
for the
like
next while.
that you're able to kind of like alter the sound a bit so that like, if you did just want to travel with just like an acoustic guitar or something, you could
Mm.
like replicate the music there. Is that kind of an important thing? Is that something you consider when you're making the songs that it should be able to translate into different forms? So if you want to do a more kind of stripped back, limited kind of thing, you can. But at the same time, if you want to go full hog and put all the production flares
Yeah,
live,
yeah,
you can also do that.
yeah. I think that's gonna happen naturally. I think because I write a lot of stuff on an acoustic guitar. Like I think 90% of the songs on the EP, I think yeah, four of the songs. One of them wasn't Dreaming. Was it started off as a little synth idea.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you listen to the full EP, the little like synth that
Yeah.
comes in at the start. That was the first thing that came up with, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then I just played the bass line and stuff under it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is, and it slowly took shape. Well, apart from that one, which I can't actually play strip back because it's so hard, like it just doesn't
Yeah.
work. um, but all the rest of them, yeah, they all work. Like you can take everything out, and it can be just the acoustic guitar and a vocal, and it works totally grand. So it is really like easy to reshape them into the different kind of like arrangements and stuff, which is nice because then you're not like kind of reliant on it needs to sound exactly like this, and I'm able to take
Yeah.
like different gigs and stuff too, which is nice, and play to different crowds.
Yeah, one thing that's I think perhaps Irish musicians don't really consider is how kind of beneficial our sort of passport is in the sense that we can go to the UK and like mainland
Yeah,
Europe without
absolutely. Yeah,
without any visas, which is great because like I know I speak to other artists who are from like other European countries and like going to the UK for example is often a
very
bit
hard to
of
Brexit.
which then has a knock-on effect on us because like well if we can't go to the UK they're not going to do Ireland and it's
Yeah,
like oh.
exactly. We'll see mainland Europe.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of an afterthought
Um,
then.
but actually, do you think like, because like where you're kind of based now, it's kind of on the border. It is a border county if I'm correct,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I don't
about
want
5 minutes from the border here.
to I didn't want to make that claim unless I
No, no,
do.
yeah, you're dead right.
But you can kind of like switch between the two, and I actually do think the kind of the music scene in the north and the music scene in the Republic is very interesting in terms of difference, I don't know if you find that too.
I wouldn't know too much about kind of the Belfast scene or the Northern Irish scene, but I do. I know Derry has quite a strong like indie scene. There's lots of like
Yeah.
rock bands coming out of Derry. I have a friend that lives up there. She was telling me about it. But I know some of the bands kind of in the north. But yeah, no, it's funny how close they are, but very different scene wise. It's kind of funny.
Um, I want to talk also. We're mentioning your new EP, Tongue Tied, and comes out October 25th. Yeah. First of all, I guess if we could talk a bit about the production of it, because you alluded to Post-Party there, but this is like has an insane like pedigree in terms of the people who worked on the mastering and the mixing and the production of this. So I was wondering if you could talk about who's kind of on that side of the album and kind of how you kind of got them on.
Yeah, absolutely. So production started around September last year, and most of it was done kind of. This is my little like studio that I have here. Most
Yeah.
of it was done here. I try to do as much of it as I can as possible, just because I just love the process of building songs up. And then I think around January time, then I got in touch with Keelan from Post-Party, Keelan O'Reilly,
Mhm.
and he had at the time he had a studio in Drogheda, so I went down to him and we spent 2 days kind of working on the vocals and kind of helping shape them. He's just insanely talented when it comes to vocals, and he was just helped me push me to another level. It was great. Um, and he's also a fantastic producer. He's so good. He's worked with so many up and coming bands kind of over the last while. I've known him since I was about like 17. He's from Monaghan as well, so
Yeah.
we know each other for years at this point. And it was my first time actually working with him, so it was really nice to finally get that to happen. Yeah, so I went to him then in January, and we worked on just some like additional production and a lot of the vocal side of stuff. We kind of engineered that sort of session, and we finished everything off there. And then Michael Heffernan, who mixed the EP, I've known him for years as well. He actually took me on as an apprentice in his like little studio for a while. He used to take me around with him
Yeah.
for about a year or so. He used to let me shadow him on all the sessions, so we became really good friends through that there. He used to take me to like Black Mountain in Dundalk, and he had his own little studio in Dublin at the time. So I used to be in wrecking his head with all my stupid beginner questions. And then yeah, he done the first four singles as well. He's mixed all my music. He's my go to guy for that sort of stuff. Um, just because we know each other so well, so he knows exactly kind of what I'm going for, and I know how he works, so I know how he'll make it. So it's just a really good partnership in that sense. It works really well. But he moved to London there last year, so I flew over to London in March for 3 days, and I spent kind of those 3 days in the studio with him, just putting the finishing touches on it and mixing them and kind of getting his seal of approval on everything. But yeah, and then he recommended Peter. Peter's actually mastered all my music as well up to this. Michael recommended him to me back, I'd say, about 2 years ago before the first single came out. So I've kind of built up this sort of team over the years, just of people that I like know
The
do a great
Avengers
job.
of production.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's kind of a cash arcade. It's so funny. It's just over the years I've just built up like a team of people that I can really trust and like they know exactly kind of the vision that I'm going for, and it's almost unsaid whenever I'm like, okay, can we like do this? And they're like, sure, you want to sound like this? And it's like, you know me so well. Even like the visual side of stuff. With Kate Lawler, she's done all the visuals, all the photos, all the videos.
Yeah.
Um, became really friends with her kind of through doing that there, and it's just my go-to person now when it comes to all their stuff. She shot all the press shots and the EP artwork and stuff. She did all that there. We shot a music video actually for Tongue Tied, so that's coming out. I think like mid-November. But all the pictures on the EP artwork are all like stills from the music video, so it like has a real cool like candid sort of look to it.
Yeah, that's cool. No, I love that, man. I love like just how kind of like organically just building those kind of connections and networks. And what I think is really nice is like how kind of long term they are. It's not like an ephemeral exchange of like,
Yeah,
will
no,
you
yeah,
work on this, you know?
it's been great. It's almost like unspoken at this point. Like, hey, I've got this song. You mix it, we master. Like, yeah, fire it on.
We're all full-term employees of this band.
On the
Um,
payroll, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, and you know, I think it's interesting too because as the music kind of changes and alters, and that, as you mentioned, the kind of personnel of the band changes and alters as kind of life moves on, and you know, people move and things like
Mm.
that. There is still like a consistency there. Like I guess there's, I don't know if you find it like this, but to me, it kind of sounds like it's stability even when you're trying new things. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, it definitely is like a safety net there. I always know I can fall back on, and I've
Yeah.
plenty of people I can bounce ideas off. And be like, no, this is really good. This is really bad. I'm so bad for it. I was talking to the boys about this actually yesterday as well, and it's like I always write a song. I'm never able to tell if it's good or bad. Like
Right.
I'm so bad. I'm like always in my head about it. Like, oh, this is really bad. I'm like overthinking it totally.
Yeah.
And I need to like show it to one of the boys, and they're like, no, no, this is good. Keep going with this idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
No, I
nice
think
to have
that's
that
every
safety net.
creative.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Yeah. So it is really nice to have that like safety net, and I can get really experimental with it, and they can tell me if I'm being a bit daft with it.
No, and I think it's also good to have like just like professionals there just to kind of be the adult in the room
Yeah,
somewhat.
yeah, literally, yeah, yeah.
Speaking of the EP then itself, I mean, kind of like crafting these kind of collections of songs, what do you feel that they were kind of like I guess appropriate as one kind of long form piece?
Yeah, they're definitely. Um, they're all sort of connected to sort of key kind of parts of my life. I think in the last maybe couple of years, anyways, in my early 20s and stuff, I'm in my mid 20s now.
Mhm.
But they all kind of yeah, a lot of my writing I find um if I'm trying to think of something to write about and it's like real contrived, like, oh, I'm gonna write a song about this, I find it impossible to write that. It needs to have some sort of like link to my life, I guess, in some way. And then now it just I enter like a flow state then. So they've all kind of come from kind of key moments, I suppose you'd say, in the last couple of years, and they're all tied to that kind of way. So I guess yeah, they're all very much about growing up and what you go through in your like 20s and stuff, and you know, like breakups and finding new love, and dreaming is about like after I finished college and I was like stuck in a rut after being like, oh, what do I do now? And when you're out of that routine that you're so used to for years and years, and it's like, oh, you know, I see my friends moving abroad or going
Yeah.
traveling and stuff. I'm kind of like, oh,
Having
will I do
kids,
that
yeah.
or will I do this? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, what am I going to do next? Like,
No, I think I can relate to that because I was someone who did a course basically just to prolong getting a real job.
yeah,
So you're preaching to the choir a little
yeah,
bit. Yeah, I mean, and obviously, your like your music has been really like taking off, and I mean, people are like really receptive to it. I mean, did you now that you have kind of like a fan base, are you considerate of I guess their expectations too, or is it always going to be kind of an insular thing of like I need to express a certain idea, I need to kind of challenge myself, and hopefully people will come along for your ride. What's your kind of relationship now that you have a fan base between sort of serving them, I guess, and also serving yourself?
I think with the kind of style that I operate in, I think there's such a massive like wiggle room in that you can kind of experiment with anything, and a lot of the core ideals of the music kind of stays sort of the same.
Hmm.
But I could like, I feel anyways, I could make straight up like rock, indie rock, or I could have like just really electronic bass kind of music, and it would still it all kind of falls under the same sort of umbrella. So I think in that sense, I don't. It's not really something I think about too much, like serving the audience or whatever. It's kind of like if I'm having fun making it, I'll stick with it. I'm so bad if like I'm not enjoying something, I'm like, I'll come back to it, or it just doesn't happen. But yeah, I think it's nice that I kind of have that wiggle room to do that. 'Cause I feel like the EP it kind of does sort of has like a lot of different kind of styles to it. It's got a lot of like kind of ambient parts to it, or I feel like Fallen's a real like singer-songwriter kind of
Right.
track, and then you've got like Tongue Tied, which is a real like late 90s, early 2000s, um, almost like it would fit in like an American Pie movie or something, like that kind of thing.
That's the goal.
If you know any sync agencies, let me know. um, yeah, I feel yeah, it's hard. It's not. It's not really something I've considered too much, but I think because I'm such a fan of that kind of style of music too, and it's such a broad thing. I think yeah, it's not really something I need to even worry too much about unless I take a hard turn and serving country albums like you were saying.
Well, keep an ear to the ground for
Yeah, yeah,
that.
there you go. You'll be the
No,
first
because I,
I let know.
thank you. No, because I think it's really I think like you were mentioning, it does kind of like change a lot. The songs kind of change a lot, even though it's kind of like a pretty short EP. It's like it does show kind of versatility, I think, in the range between the songs, and yeah, you can kind of see like the more kind of I don't know, like dance kind of upbeat numbers, and kind of what's trying to get the kind of different moods that are kind of being expressed there. I don't think in any way it's a dour record. I don't think it really gets to a point of making people feel bad, but there is kind of a variety in terms of expression, I find, on the EP. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Do you find because you were kind of mentioned there that sort of about a transitional period in your life, do you find that when you're kind of writing songs in those kind of like time frames, that it's kind of important to get the songs out when they're still relevant to you as a person? Or could you, for example, write a song now about being a college student, or is that just something that you can't relate to anymore and you're not even going to try?
Um, I think my writing's very what's the word for it? It's kind of like I'm writing about stuff kind of in the past, so it's something that will have happened, but it could be like a year after that I'm writing about it, and I'll
Kind
have
of
like had time to
retrospectively.
like process. Yeah, retrospective. That's the word I was looking for. Um, yeah, I think it's very retrospective. My writing style, or just the way it's just the way I work. I'll have like an idea on like an instrumental part for ages, and then I could have written that at the time this thing was happening, and then I had nothing until like a year later, and it'll just be like tied to that in my head. Like, oh, I should probably write, and then I'll sit down and something, I'll just spew a whole bunch of word vomit, and be like, oh, so I'm still not over this thing that happened 2 years ago.
Well, that's a good point because then, like, if you're writing something in the moment, it mightn't have longevity to you, but if something
Mm,
is still bothering you a year or two later, maybe it's like, well, maybe this is something I should kind of exercise a little bit, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think when I sit down and write something, it's definitely not a case of, as I was saying, if I try to sit down and decide I'm writing a song like this, it's very hard for me to do that. I think it's kind of just I just let something naturally come out, and I'm like, oh, I'll read a verse I've written or something. I'm like, okay, so that's kind of about this thing, and then I'll like go from there rather than I'm going to write a verse about this and then start that.
Yeah.
It's, um, but no, I think it definitely um, no, it doesn't need to be fresh in my mind for me to write about it. I don't think.
No, I think that's actually kind of healthy too, because then you can actually have enough perspective to kind of write about
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah,
a bit more even-handedly, you know? So, um,
absolutely, yeah.
the final thing I just want to plug is you have a gig upstairs in Whelan, December 14th, is that correct?
Do indeed, yeah. That's been announced actually Monday, this Monday coming.
Well, this will
Um,
be out around the
yeah,
time
it'll be
the
first,
piece
yeah,
comes
yeah.
out, so it's grand.
Oh,
I'm
oh
not
no, no, you're
revealing
all good.
anything
I
too
know, no,
soon.
I know, don't worry.
I was wondering if you could maybe just kind of tell people what they can expect if they pop along to that.
Yeah, we've actually started. Well, we haven't started working up for that just yet, but that's kind of coming now. Should be plenty of new music. I've been writing a whole bunch of stuff, so you'll hear the full EP um live in full. We'll have yeah, we tried to kind of make them as much of an experience as we can. I kind of like hiring in like lights and kind of doing the whole Monty with it almost.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting
um,
because I've been to gigs upstairs in Wheels and it is kind of amazing, because it's quite a limited space
mm,
and but it's quite interesting the kind of versatility that certain artists have been able to actually kind of get in terms of a visual show in that limited space. I find it very fascinating to look at.
yeah, no, I'm visuals are like a massive, massive thing for me when it comes to like music and stuff too. Especially for like a live show. I love like obviously it's dependent on the genre and stuff, but I feel like just having like that kind of light show, it just elevates what you're doing to like a whole other level. Like you look at any big concert, they all have like a really detailed like light show.
Totally.
I was like, if I'm trying to get to that level, I need to build the
Yeah.
groundwork.
Well, this is something I've talked to about with other artists. I'd love to pick your brain a little bit about it, where it's like, when you're kind of like an act that's still at like the kind of club level and playing at clubs, there's like such I think, inconsistency between venues when you're at that level. Where I've gone to see bands at a club level, and sometimes like their stage props don't really fit the stage and things like that. Whereas if you're playing that kind of a theater level, or especially an arena level, there's consistency between the venues. You
Mm.
kind of know the dimensions. You kind of know, okay, here's the props we can have, here's the lighting we can have, here's the pyrotechnics or whatever we can have. Where when you're at a club level, each venue you play night on night, if you're on the road, is so different that it's kind of hard, I think, to have a consistent visual show. I don't know if you feel that way too.
Um, yeah, for sure. Even like you look at Dublin, the
Yeah,
diversity in venues there. If you're playing a show in Whelan's, it's like totally different to playing one in like Workman's, or if you're
right.
upstairs on a show where there's not even a stage. Like it's totally like you need to. I suppose yeah, it's all about kind of maximizing, I suppose, um, your space and just hoping that you can make it as consistent as you can. And I think working with, like we were saying, like working with the same team of people for a long time, you get to know each other. You kind of know what each other's limitations are and stuff. So I guess you have to kind of plan around it and stuff, in
Yeah.
that sense. But yeah, definitely takes a lot of thought to figure that one out.
That's perfect, man. Ryan, thanks very much. It was really nice talking with you again. I guess the final thing I'll just say, is there anything you would like to add before we wrap up? Obviously, we have the EP out 25th. This interview will be out around then. Gig December 14th. Anything else you'd like to say? Anything else you'd like to plug?
um, no, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think that's all I've got coming up so far.
So listen to the music and go see him live. Thanks very
Cheers.
much, Ryan. It's really nice talking with you.
Good chat to you, man. Good to see you again.
See you next year, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Actually, I'd love to invite you actually down to the gig if you're around.
Oh, yeah, perfect. I should
I'd
be
love to
around
get
then.
you. I can give you a shout close to the time. I can stick on the guest list if you wanna
Perfect. That'd be great. I'd love to
stick on
come
it.
along.
Yeah, absolutely. Love to have you.
Thanks very much, Ryan. It was
All
really
right,
nice
cheers,
talking
man.
to you again, man.
Chat to you again.
See you then.
See you, dude.
Hello.
Hey guys, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
Hey, Aaron. Yeah, can you hear us?
I can hear you fine.
How's it going, man?
Grant, how are you?
No, not bad.
Good to hear it. Yes.
I don't know. The camera is not really great. Yeah.
Probably
more confusing, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for having.
experimental angle.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on, Aaron.
Totally, man. Because I just ask actually who sued you, so just for when I'm like writing this down later.
Yeah. Well, I'm Mikey, the vocalist, guitarist.
Sure, man. I'm Louis. I'm the drummer.
And I'm Jamie. I'm the bassist.
Wait, do you want the camera on then? Will it make it a bit easier?
It'd be preferable if it's okay. Yeah, just to take notes.
Let's see if I can.
Put it like over there.
Yeah. 1 sec. Sorry about this, man.
All good.
It's in a fucking weird way. I don't know what way. Is that better?
Sure.
That's fine. Yeah.
Better, yeah.
I ain't no perfectionist. This is grand.
And ignore
Yeah.
anything you see. You too. We're in a rehearsal room. It's not our room. We're not. No. Yeah.
Perfect, guys. Dude, it's really nice to talk to you, man. I guess like the first thing I'll just ask, like, kind of just out the gate is like a little bit about how the project kind of came to be. I mean, because like one thing I think is really interesting about the project is that you guys kind of mentioned that like it's very and it's evident when you listen to the music that's very experimental and it's very you know it's really trying new things. Was that just a case of each of you having kind of different influences?
Yeah, I think so. Like how it first came about, like the kind of name of the band on our first two singles was me and the guitarist. No, he's not here right now. He's sick, but Lee, our guitarist. So like it was kind of just during COVID, during the lockdown period, like we were living close to each other, so we kind of jamming. We were just kind of jamming all different types of music, starting out, trialing different genres, listening to kind of a lot of different records together. So like starting out, we were very much into kind of the kind of punk stuff of like kind of Minor Threat movements and Fugazi and that kind of stuff. Pixies and Kings of Leon. So it's very kind of punk rock, grungy stuff at first. And then I suppose you, Louis, and then how we met Louis is quite an interesting story. If you want to,
Yeah, the first time I met Mikey was the day we were recording the first two singles. I came on just to record the singles, and then that day he asked me if I wanted to join the band. So, but, I don't know. I feel like I really liked the two songs that we were recording that day. And then it ended up working out pretty well.
Yeah, like it was.
We have a lot of similar tastes, I think.
Definitely. How Louis came about was like producer Joe McCurk, he still producing our upcoming single and EP. He was at that stage of 2022. He was only kind of getting started recording with bands. You wouldn't have thought it because it was really, really good quality from the start. But so he's just kind of looking to take on any kind of projects. Anyone that just wanted to come in, he just wanted to record a set of musicians just to practice. So me and Lee we got the two songs down and we were like, oh look, we'll make these songs, see where we can go. Sent them on to Louis. Lee and Louis knew each other from college, and yeah, funny enough, I met him on the day then we released the tracks. But Jamie's a lot of a newer member to the band. He's
brand new,
not brand new, but 2023.
Yeah, about a year ago.
About a year ago, but we'd only played 5 gigs, released 2 singles, and played 5 gigs before Jamie joined. Well, I think Jamie's been a great addition. I'll let you talk about your own influences, but Jamie's kind of changed the way, and it works well with the experimental side of things because we're experimenting with different genres. I think it's really complemented our sound recently. But
I don't know. I like heavier music, so I came in and I was like, oh yeah, the old stuff's great. I like it, but I'm like subtly pushing the music a certain way. We're trying to.
The old songs sound different with Jamie playing them, and that's kind of the sound that we have now. I feel like.
I love that, like he just comes in, just like uprooting everything. Like, no, we're not doing that.
Just keep him in a cage, and then if he's got any good ideas, then let him out. That's kind of how like most bass players.
I think so.
He better be happy.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, I mean, like you guys were established by the time you would have joined. So I was wondering, like Jamie, what was it about like the band that kind of made you want to that got you interested, I guess, in coming along?
Oh, well, I was at their first gig and I thought it was fucking mental because Mikey's a madman. And I really enjoyed the songs and I was like, this would be class. And then I heard their bass player was leaving and I was like, perfect.
Slide in.
Gonna ruin everything. No,
that was going good. Yeah, me and Louis are kind of like a package deal as well. I know Louis from college, so I was like Louis, nepotism, get me in there.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's good that the rhythm section get along.
Oh, big time, yeah.
Well, actually, like as I was kind of mentioning, like with the kind of range that you hear on the music that you guys are making, like I think it's really interesting because like one single doesn't necessarily dictate what the next one's going to sound like. There's no like precedent set by what came before it, I guess. You mentioned that you're making an EP currently. Like, is that difficult then to try and craft something that sounds like a cohesive whole, or has that been an issue for you guys?
No, I don't think so. I think it's what keeps it most interesting. Like our EP's out on November 22nd, but I think even the lads probably agree. Each of those songs are almost kind of fit into a different genre in itself.
Yeah,
just keeps it exciting. It keeps that like never let them know your next move kind of mindset. But like that's how we started writing the songs, and that's how we kind of proceed to want to go on. We don't want to be tied down just yet with it in terms of a genre.
Yeah, exactly. We want to try as many because we do have a lot of like a big range of influences, and we want to see what we can do with each sort of sound. And they're not a million miles away from
That's the thing.
They're all tied together by something.
Yeah, something.
But we don't know what it is, but it's there.
We're going for a slightly different sound with this EP than the the first few singles. Because like the first two singles, they were written before me and Jamie joined the band. Do you know what I mean? So like just the two of us together, do you know what I mean? It's I feel like it's made a difference in how we write now.
Definitely, yeah.
So the first three singles, like the singles that we have out, I feel like they have a sound, and then we're trying to maybe just try something a little bit different from them now.
Yeah. I think they like the EP does, although it's kind of different style, they do work well together, and I think that's what's kind of done us well so far, that like we do have a sound that isn't the sound, if that makes sense. You know, the kind of way it does somehow work together.
But the process of recording as well, like I think ties it together. Because every other time we went into the studio, we did everything separate. You know, we spent like hours. We spent like 9 a.m. till 2 a.m. in the morning, like in the studio adding things and stuff. But like a lot of the songs on this one, how many of them? Like 3 of them were done live.
Yeah, so it's live recording. Like a big thing for this EP was we want to replicate it as how we sound live. Because the first 2 singles don't do that any justice at all. Like it's quite an energetic set we have. So we just wanted to replicate that as much as possible in the recording process.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like a huge thing. Like when you have bands who are kind of famous for their energy and for being kind of like really bombastic, is trying to replicate that on an album. It can be a lot more challenging than I think people kind of expect. If you're not doing just like a direct live record. Yeah, I mean, like how much of that, like in terms of actually, how much of that energy is kind of based on playing off to a crowd and kind of engaging with their reaction versus like doing it in the studio when it's only you guys and the producer around?
Like I think personally, like it was like I perform the songs whether there's no one there or if there's 100 people there. Like even in the rehearsal room, I probably need to stop because I'd be wrecked after it. You know what I mean? But I just perform it like this. I just pour the songs, like I just put everything into playing them. I don't know about you guys. It'd probably be different.
For me, it was. I think it was a lot harder because there was nothing else to focus on except for the recording itself. It just put a lot more pressure on, I think, and also made it. We were a little bit more perfectionist, not perfectionist, really. But like a little bit.
We want the things to go right.
We wanted things to go better.
Yeah. Sorry, just vocally is the only thing, I suppose, that can be a little bit different than when you perform live. You can, you might need to do a couple of more times just to make sure everything is in key or whatever. But other than that, like, it's I find it I don't find it too hard to be a bit strange and play them the way we usually do them live.
Are you guys kind of okay? Because like your music seems very I don't know, from the outside. I mean, obviously it's very obviously it's very crafted. Like it's very particularly crafted, but it kind of has the aura of being kind of very loose and very freeing. I was wondering like how much kind of like margin of error do you guys like allow, and how much of it is like, no, it actually, all the mistakes have to be purposeful, if that makes sense.
I think with Butterfly,
I think we vary within the band on that.
Yeah, big time. I think with Butterfly specifically, I think the way that song was written, like our next single out October 25th, that single, I think that's just that is just kind of a loose cannon in itself. That song,
it's a mistake.
It is. Yeah, it was written by a mistake. It came out of nowhere. So I think the whole frenetic energy behind that is just it's a song that's has sections in it where anything could go wrong, and that just adds to the manic side of that song. You know what I mean? It's but I think there's other songs we have, like The Game. There's a lot of stops and stuff in it, and sometimes you might hear a bit of feedback that might sound cool, but that could be just a mistake in itself as well. You know what I mean? So it's just like,
I feel like a lot of like some of the really cool things that we think are cool anyway that are in it.
Yeah,
and were there by accident.
That's it. Like I think the direction we're going, the stuff that we're kind of writing at the minute, I think is more crafted and the kind of way, the kind of process for that we're writing now. But that EP that we're releasing and the singles releasing, I think there's room for just the kind of madness, a bit of fun with it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, when you guys would have been starting, I mean, it would have been like absolutely in the explosion of the kind of the sort of noisy post-punk music that I think is like really, I was gonna say in the Irish music scene, but I think really kind of like internationally, you're seeing a lot in the States and you're seeing in the UK as well, and but it's like it is really big here. It's really big in Belfast, I know, and I mean, also, like, I think within the Dublin music scene, which you guys seem to have been really embrace, you get that kind of sort of post-Skilla band kind of post-punk sound, but you also get like a lot of the kind of 1977 kind of punk bands too, or kind of replicate that sound, the kind of and it's interesting too that like I see those two kind of like kind of coexist, and it's not like I don't know, like I remember when I was growing up, there was a lot of animosity between the kind of the younger punk bands and the kind of older punk bands in terms of like not having the right credentials or whatever. It doesn't seem to be the case anymore. I was wondering how you find kind of like the punk scene in Dublin and generally around the country as well.
Yeah, like I think that the punk scene and that kind of post-punk, post-noise scene, like from what I've noticed in particular, you kind of can see a difference. It's funny you say about the younger and the old punk crowd. We found the opposite. We found that like a lot of our audience and people that kind of like us that tend to be fans of the likes of Paranoid Visions and that kind of scene, like the kind of older punk bands, and they always kind of give us a good reputation, and they're big fans of us. They're good to us. They look after us. People that would kind of grow up going to see Paranoid Visions kind of somehow found us. I think it was big. If we played an Arcadian Nights festival, it's like a DIY festival, punk festival, and we've been playing that for the last 2 years. And last one, but like that was a great help. The punk scene, the older punk scene have been good to us. So we find them to be very accommodating.
Well, I also think that post-punk is very popular.
Obviously.
And I feel like we're friends with a lot of people who are in bands like that, and so we see their gigs, and it's kind of it's impossible not to be influenced by your surroundings.
Of course,
you definitely get bits from pretty much everyone we see in Dublin. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we always have like a lot of time, like we've watched a band and be like, "That's sick. We should do something like that."
Let's rob it.
Exactly.
That's it.
But I like it. I enjoy that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But there's so much talent like going around. Like you can, like kind of, I don't know what you even put. Like our favorite bands, I suppose, like Tone Deaf, Stratford Rise, like they'd be two we like. There's Blue Slate as well. They're another great band. Dumb Posh Hippies as well. They're another one that's kind of similar kind of sound. to
Yeah,
wear
my
stuff.
interview with
But,
them just went up today.
oh, did it? Yeah, there you go. I say that. What was that? About 4 hours long. If you had Kieran on it, was it?
It was Kieran that's talking to you.
Yeah. You must be wrecked after that one. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what I
no,
kind of love too, man. Like when you go to the punk shows, like here, it's like you just see like again, like just the kind of interaction, and it really does feel like, you know, kind of like a scene in the way that, like, I don't know, people going to like the 100 Club in the 70s or something. Was it being? It really does kind of still have that feel. And you were talking about like Paranoid Visions. I mean, they've been around since like the 80s, and it's just like
yeah.
and just kind of like how, I don't know, like even like the bands that are kind of exploding, you still kind of see like Sprints, for example, still kind of like going to like local shows, and you see members from even like the kind of the bands that are getting pretty big now. And I always find it like really arbitrary too, like in terms of like, you know, which ones kind of like explode and which ones don't, because like to me it just seems like there's so much talent that it's like, you know, really anyone can kind of become big. I don't know if you guys feel that way too.
Yeah, no, I think so, definitely. Like obviously having the right people marketing your releases and your, you know, so getting certain bookings and getting festival slots and all. I think that you can kind of see the difference between some bands in that remark. Like,
I mean, we haven't seen anyone in sort of our direct scene that we like know personally explode yet.
Yeah,
but I feel like it's coming.
Oh
soon,
no,
it is.
It's on the
Bitter and angry. I'll be the worst.
Yeah. No,
so you guys looking forward to exploding and just forgetting everyone?
That's it, yeah.
That's it.
We don't know where we're exploding to, you know what I mean? But explode somewhere.
Massive Leitrim boys.
Yeah, that's it. Estonia 2035, you know what I mean? That's it, Raymond, to blow up there. Yeah, that's it.
You guys have been playing like across the country a lot for the last while. I was wondering, like, do you kind of like observe different things from the places you're playing in? Because I mean, obviously, I mean, like in Ireland, like it's a relatively small country, but I don't know. I think you can glean different things from going to different places. I don't know, like what I guess going on the road is kind of like if that's kind of like changed and being exposed to different kind of music scenes has changed your perception, or if it's meant anything to you in that sense.
Yeah.
In terms of creative sense.
Everywhere's a lot nicer than here, except for Limerick. Limerick was pretty much the same. But
Limerick
thing
is
to say about Limerick is a few free gargle, and that's unheard of in Dublin. That's the only time.
So it was still better than here.
It's the only kind of thing.
The only time
I think we'd all have different opinions on on traveling as a band, playing outside of Dublin as a band.
I mean, some of further to go. Jamie lives in Cavan. So.
Jamie's actually from Cavan, yeah. That's another like kind of flaw of the band that we're kind of but yeah, no, you do see stuff like in the likes of like Belfast. There's a lot of noisy and kind of going up there. Like kind of funny enough, like kind of what kind of Gilla bands, they kind of just expanded on that and went crazier again. A lot of bands like Stratford Rise, fantastic example of that. They're banger based. They're amazing. Yeah, I found like kind of Belfast, Dundalk, and stuff like that. They're quite community based places, and
there's just fantastic bands all over.
All over. Inbow are another great. They're Dundalk based. They're a great band. But yeah, it's more community based. I think that you get people at gigs that are open. They're very open minded and want to listen to new bands. They'll give, and if they're kind of familiar that a band's traveling, they'll give them the time of day, and they'll go watch them. And
reception in other counties on here.
Yeah, you do. I think like with Dublin, it's an amazing music scene. It really is. I don't know if it's the layout of some of the venues or kind of. Or what it is, but sometimes you don't get the same kind of crowd interaction engagement. I think in Dublin, I think that's just natural. I think a lot of times events like, you know, people will just go specific for the band they bought the ticket for, rather. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I think it's in different counties. I think I've noticed it's just more community based. They're in it for they like the unknown kind of that kind of thing.
It's also like I haven't traveled around Ireland that much in my life, so I like just seeing the places.
That's it. Like, it's brilliant.
It's great. Like I've never been to a lot of the countries that we played in. Do you know what I mean? That's great.
How do you find it, Jamie?
I like Belfast.
Belfast, yeah.
I was thinking about moving to Belfast, maybe, but, you know, that went away.
Well, one thing this is something I've talked about, like in terms from bands who are from Dublin, kind of like the difference you see between Dublin and kind of like other parts of the country. One thing I think is great is that like kind of everywhere is seeming to get like, you know, at least one kind of big kind of venue that a lot of people play at. Like you know, every pocket of Ireland now seems to be getting kind of some level of representation in terms of live music, or at least within proximity. I mean, I don't know, like however you want to draw the radius within, let's say, 10 kilometers or whatever. There's like probably something nearby that you can go to.
Oh
But
yeah,
like I think with Dublin, perhaps part of the issue is that like you know, maybe there's just too many options. I mean, like I've been to show like some nights, like you know, sometimes I might go a week without seeing any shows, and then like three shows I want to see are on in one night, and so it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like you know, just being like, well, which one do I go for on the whim?
That's it.
You know what I
That's
mean?
it. Yeah. But it's like it's a good problem as well. It's like I like
Yeah,
that. You know what I mean. I love the way there's so much happening, and
It's a good
but
problem.
I don't find it competitive and I don't find it toxic.
Yeah.
Which I'm very surprised with. And I think we're quite positive, like when the approach we take to gigging and stuff. But I haven't been exposed to any kind of
Bad
toxic
yeah,
mentalities
no.
or anything. It's good, like it's competitive, but same time, everyone realizes like could be worse, you know. It could be fucking, I don't know. You could be licking the windows or something. I don't know. It's just fucking, you probably shouldn't have said that. No, there you go. Burnt out.
Obviously, there's a lot of versatility. I mean, you know, in the art music scene, you go to any gig, and it's like, you know, again, I think like we are seeing, and I don't know if you guys agree with this, but in a lot of ways, we're seeing kind of a death of genre and a death of genre conformity of kind of like, you know, sticking to one thing and only doing that. I was wondering for you guys, I mean, do you get inspired by kind of what you're seeing, you know, what live acts you're seeing, and generally is that kind of shape the way you guys make music, or do you kind of divorce yourself from that and kind of go like, no, our music is our thing, but you know, we can appreciate other music as well?
No, I feel like absolutely. I feel like if we didn't agree with the death of the genre, then what we'd be doing would be fucking, or sorry, would be insane.
You can say what you want.
All right, cool. I wasn't sure, man. We were talking about that earlier. Like,
It's always nice when someone breaks the ice.
We had an interview once that lasted 4 seconds.
2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and we said one thing,
That's
and
it.
no, didn't go great. But anyway,
Think of the kids, man. Think of the kids.
But yeah, no, like what we'd be doing would be mental. Do you know what I mean? Like we almost live by the death of genre. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's nothing that we feel like we can't do because of that. But also, it's great to see. I was going to say that in relation to like the post-punk scene, that like everyone's got their own take on it, and it seems like you know, they'd be labeled post-punk, but like it's not really. You know, you can't really label any one of them like that. Do you know what I mean? Because they all have very different takes on it. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's an interesting kind of sort of vacuum it opens up to, because I think we have been for years just kind of like you know, kind of trying to relate music to everything else. So maybe it is just time that we kind of just go, because like, you know, even to some degree, I mean, you do the even if you're not kind of like sticking to a label, people still need to do the for fans of thing, you know, an EPKs and stuff like that for fans of the Pixies or whatever, just so people kind of have an idea. And I wonder, like, you know, with so much kind of stuff flying for competition, do people still kind of like need to have some kind of in terms of like, well, does it sound like this act that I like? I don't know how you guys find actually trying to sell yourself in the kind of in sort of this I don't know, this free for all that we seem to be in.
That's it. I think like it's quite strange. It is quite hard. Yeah.
I mean, it's very broad. The one that we kind of do have.
Yeah. The one we do have is quite broad.
Yeah,
I suppose
it
the
is.
more time goes, we'll learn kind of what direction
Where
to go
we
into
fit,
and where we
yeah.
fit. But like I think a few people I've chatted to that are helping us market the release, I suppose having a few options, and like if you go from, I think we had a couple of examples we had was Pixies and Black Midi and stuff, and
Yeah.
so that in itself kind of has it going in its own different paths.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, just naming bands, I suppose, just being honest as well, like what bands did we like, where the music did come from, and I suppose let the songs and people's perception do the rest of it, really, like, you know, that kind of way. I think that's just the road we went on it so far, and yeah, we haven't limited it to many bands. We've been honest, and like one of the influences I'd have would be Damien Dempsey. but Damien Dempsey and Black Midi, you know what I mean? If you read that, like, I don't know what, you know what I
Very
mean?
different crowds.
You'd bleeding, Spotify be left on its arse, you know what I mean? Like, after that, like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, no, just being honest and giving people, and I think it makes people more curious as well. Like,
Yeah, totally.
Like,
see,
what
like
the
the
fuck does
influences.
Black Midi and Damien Dempsey sound
That's
like?
it, like brushy one string and the Strokes, you know what I mean? Like, whatever that is. But yeah, like I suppose, yeah, it's only time will tell, really. Like, and it's exciting, like, because it's
early days.
It is, and it's exciting. Like, it plans to release stuff next year as well, and just keep learning and hopefully get the right people around us, and yeah, just keep growing with people. Yeah.
Perfect. I'll try and take up too much more of your time. I just want to ask, so from an inner band perspective, I mean, has there ever been any disagreements over the direction the song is going to go? Because, like I said, I mean, such versatility. One thing, I suppose that's kind of beneficial to sticking to, say, heavy metal or sticking to indie rock or whatever kind of genre people get stuck to, is that there is kind of some semblance of like familiarity between each song. When you're trying to do stuff that's just kind of like, you know, all over the place and doesn't have any kind of sense of conformity, can that ever, I don't know, can that ever cause disagreement within the band in terms of like what to do with each song, because there's so many different moving parts too, that someone might even like, you know, they might like the verse but they mightn't like the chorus, or, you know, because it literally gets that kind of like that atomic, you know, in the songwriting. So I was wondering, has there ever been any kind of like disagreements over that, or has everyone kind of been on the same page for the most part?
I suppose because it's experimental, and recently we're playing quite experimental music. It's kind of good that it is. So it has happened at times.
In a word, yeah.
Like,
we're always killing each other. I
think it works. Like, it works that we're like that because the music we're making.
I feel like the fact that like we have two different sort of opinions on where something should go, what comes out is just the best one.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean? Like, because then, you know, we could show which direction we wanted to go in, and then
that's
actually just better.
It's great. Like, it's great just being like fucking honest with each other as well. It's great. Like, I think like Jamie as well, it's been really good. Just his influences as well has been fantastic. Like, so there's four of our inputs on it now, so it's great. And like, yeah, and like everyone, they're all terrified of me. So like, I wouldn't get the plan today, but they'll probably tell me like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, and then I won't know any different. You know what I mean? That's it. Like,
Do you think it's a democracy? It's a dictatorship.
Yeah, that's it.
Mikey's in the corner doing push-ups to intimidate all of us.
That's it. Like, that's all I kind of want to do, really. Like, and you know what I mean? Who can I scream at? Yeah, run over. Like, yeah. Well, that's it. You know what I mean?
Perfect. I guess two final things. One is I just want to ask actually about actually songwriting in the band. I mean, is it all kind of like collaborative jamming and then coming up with songs that way, or do people write songs individually and then bring it to the band and then you guys work on it? How does the actual songwriting process of the band work?
A bit of both, I think.
A bit of both, yeah.
Before for a lot of our kind of older songs, it's definitely been written.
Yeah.
And brought in. And then worked on together, but like been mostly just written. But recently we've tried out more like arranging in a jam.
Yeah. Everything we're writing will probably release next year.
Yeah.
Is that and that just kind of goes because it's the time of the band. Like, it's we're practicing more with each other, and like still Jamie's only in the band since 2023. It's not even 2025 yet.
Nearly 2 years, guys.
Nearly 2 years.
Straight after.
But like Butterfly was a kind of jam sort of thing in a way. That song. There's Still Time and The Game was like, I think everyone brought their own sections from afar. Like I wrote from, you know what I mean, from like I was in one room, you know what I mean? That's it. Like, I was in the north side of Dublin and they're in the south side. You know, that kind of way.
Throwing songs over the Luffy.
That's it. We really just write songs for the people. They influence the peoples.
But yeah, The Game and
Game There's Still Time was
Mikey's songs. Mikey wrote them, and then we all kind of.
But the lads perfected them though.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
And then the last song on it, Shift. That's a Lee Ready special.
Yeah, that's like Lee having a bleed spasm in one of his dreams and just vomited out that, and it sounds brilliant. So that's kind of that's like
Twizzle came about.
Twizzle as well. Yeah, that's how Twizzle came
the single that one of the singles that we have
last year. Yeah. Lee's a genius as well. We're allowed to say that because he's not here. Yeah. He's a genius. So get well soon, Lee.
Now you'll know if he listens to this.
Yeah,
actually, about the EP, well, first of all, does it have a name, or are you keeping that close to your chest?
Yeah, so it's named The Game. So it's
cool.
It's influenced by one of the singles. The single The Game's coming out November 8th. And that's the title track for the EP. So yeah, it's called The Game. Like, it's just the song is kind of about a simulation of some sort, and that's what the whole EP is about, I suppose. It's just kind of 4 songs that hit you. It's a
song that all the other songs can relate to.
Yeah, that's the best way.
I feel like it's the one song that
ties it all together.
Yeah. Because you have to have something that
makes it a bit cohesive.
You need something. Yeah, kind of way. But yeah, it's called The Game. It's out November 22nd. Butterfly, our next single, is out next Friday, October 25th. When this is going out, October.
I'll try and get it for the release date.
Good man, look at it. That's it. Yeah, I love that. So yeah, October 25th, and then the single after that, November 8th. So yeah, no, we've had fun. We thought about quite the visual side as well. Like, we've 2 music videos for the 2 singles. We've been working with a couple of great visual artists like Jordan done the artwork for Butterfly, and we had Merv do some great photos. That our good friends Nova Dream. I know Nova Dream are inspired by the photos. But in fairness, that's how I found this podcast. So we returned the favor. Nova Dream. Shout out to Nova Dream.
Actually, no, can we start some beef with Nova Dream?
No, that's it. We were saying everything's not competitive.
We need to make it
competitive. They're great guys. But we put a bit of effort into the visual side as well. It's been fun. It's been fun to kind of put the effort into it.
Yeah, no,
we all have, and we all put our own input. So nice.
Perfect. And the fun thing I want to ask is just about the gig on Halloween at Bello Bar. If you just plug that.
Halloween night in Bello Bar. Event's called the Mahucon. It's like the emotions in Irish. That's what it means. It's a visual art music event. So there's going to be 10 to 15 visual artists, all based in different parts of Ireland. They'll be showing their artwork at it. It's in Bello Bar, a real intimate venue. But then bands that are playing, Blue Slate, fantastic band, kind of alternative shoegazy kind of band. They're from Kildare. They're fantastic. There's Stratford Rise, like, in my opinion, best band in the world. Yeah, right now, definitely by far. Like
on record.
If anyone listens to this, give them a listen.
Absolutely.
Ourselves are playing, and then we've a band, Chest from France, coming over.
Oh, cool.
So they're going to open the night. They're fantastic as well, and so
great things
about them. So they're playing that night. So yeah, it's gonna be a great night. You get the tickets in your Instagram bio. So it's at Joe Maxi is on Instagram. You can find the tickets there.
I'll put a link in the bio to this episode if there's anyone listening.
Cheers, buddy. Yeah. So in the link in the bio. Yeah.
Here's us. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up? Anything else you'd like to
thanks a million. Yeah, come down on Halloween. Listen to the tunes when they're out. But thanks a million for having us on. Pleasure.
Thanks very much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, cheers, buddy. We'll keep in touch. All the best, mate.
Best luck, man. Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. We're an independent venture run by yours truly, and as I said at the beginning, liking, rating, subscribing and sharing really helps us out a lot. If you're feeling extra generous, we do have a PayPal donation link in the episode description, but don't feel obligated, of course. We've also begun releasing occasional exclusive episodes on Spotify, so subscribe there if you'd be interested in hearing those. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.